And
Sure.
so you're the fourth person we've had on that's been on the Titan Games, but the first champion. And you were the oldest competitor coming into that. And I believe I heard, is it true that you were actually an alternate and got moved in after the fact?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I wish I could remember the fella's name that had gotten the spot before me. But yeah, I was an alternate, and they had asked me. They're like, "Hey, look, things happen. If you want to come, we'd love for you to come. There's only 2 alternates for men and 2 alternates for women. So if somebody gets hurt, the likelihood that you'll get popped in there is high." So I was like, well, I have to get time off of work. But Sheree and I think there's a lesson that a lot of people could take. Sheree and I promised ourselves a long time ago that if there's an interesting opportunity, and even if it's not guaranteed, we're going to take that opportunity. And that has opened up so many doors for she and I across the years that never, ever in my life would I have guessed that it led to the things that it led to. This is just another one of those. So I talked to Sheree, came home. I told her, I was like, hey, they called. They said I'm only going to be an alternate. So I don't see taking time off of work to go to this thing. What do you think? And she's like, don't be an idiot. Go. So I got a couple trades. I went down there in late January. And when I showed up, immediately they're like, hey, turns out the guy that you were his alternate, he tore his bicep, so he's not coming down. Or it might have been his pec, but he's not coming down. So you wanna get in on the mix? I was like, well, let's see. Yes.
So what was the overall experience like? It was very different than CrossFit because they were like shorter events. You only had to do a couple. The other people have told us that what we saw on TV was really a different order than the way you guys kind of did it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yep. So yeah, it was, here's the similarities. Similarities are that it was a competition. There was an audience. There was an announcer. There was hype. There was interviews beforehand. So, there's a lot of things that were similar that, luckily I had the opportunity to go through some of that stuff, and it wasn't as stressful as it was for some of these other guys. The dissimilarities would be, it's very, very Hollywood. So, everything from makeup to hair. I did sugar lip scrubs because my lips are disgusting, and apparently that's not appealing to people. But also just the way that, if you say something and they don't really like the way you say it again, and then it gets twisted a little bit, and then they really drum up your story, right? So I think really what they wanted to do is have people, the viewers, identify with you in some way, shape, or form. And for me, it was that injury that they wanted people to identify with, that you could come back from an injury and still have a successful athletic life. And I agree with that. The way that they pumped it up, though, maybe isn't exactly me, but I think it turned out really good. And the one thing that I really loved that they did that wasn't on the plan was they really highlighted Sheree and I's relationship throughout the entire event. Because frankly, she and I rely so much on each other for support and to get through things like that, when I watched the final, when I got to watch the show, and it was this, when they started showing it in August, and they started showing how much they showed Sheree, I was just like, oh my gosh, I was in tears. It's just like, I love you. I'm sorry. I didn't realize seeing this is like, oh my gosh, just bringing it all back. But yeah, it was a really cool experience. I do have to say the events were extraordinarily hard. And yes, you didn't get to see all of the event. They definitely cut stuff out so that it was a little bit more watchable for the viewer.
Yeah, I just have to say how impressed I was with where you're tied to the guy with the rope and you have to throw the trash cans,
Yeah,
oil drums, or
that's a
whatever. You were
that was
much
the best one,
smaller,
was it?
huh?
Yeah, he's a bigger guy than me for sure. I think we might weigh the same, but he's definitely taller. And he's a beast. That guy, Doc Thor, he's a beast.
And you like dominated that event. That was so impressive.
Well, I think the thing that I benefited from was I know how to use my body, and bodybuilders, and this is no offense to bodybuilding because I use bodybuilding on a daily basis as accessory work, but when you think of your body as parts and pieces rather than a whole, and how can you get the job done with a whole, that's what makes CrossFitters so powerful. And people that train isolation movements less powerful. Can they get bigger muscles? Yes, they can. But when you're using your body as a whole, you just have much more power. And a perfect example is like I have a YouTube channel that has how to perform a kipping pull-up, and I can't tell you how many comments I delete that say, what the hell is this shit? When it comes to the kipping, right? But hey, I'd love to see you perform 70 pull-ups in a row, because I can do that, and I'm using my same body just like you're using your same body. So I think that's where maybe Danny, myself, Kareem, the group of CrossFitters that were on the show, that's why those guys excelled, is because they just know how to use their bodies as a whole.
And the last question I have about the Titan Games is was the trophy as heavy as it looked?
Oh my God, Jesus. Yeah, it was. That thing must have weighed, I'm not exaggerating, it had to weigh 50 pounds. And, I got to admit, there's one thing I have to say. I didn't get to keep the trophy. And I really, really wanted to keep that trophy.
What kind of business did they give you anything?
What's funny? I got nothing. I walked out of there with nothing. Like I eventually obviously got a pretty sweet check in the mail, but like I walked away. They took our uniforms. They took everything. I think I got a plastic water bottle with a T on it. That's it.
Did you get to do a shot of tequila with The Rock?
Nope.
Come on.
But I'll tell you what though. All right. So you guys probably saw the guy named Will Sutton. He was Country Strong. So Will Sutton and we turned out to be really good friends throughout the entire time. Even in our auditions, I was like, I like this guy. He's got a good attitude. And we're standing there one day, and it was kind of like the semifinal. So there's probably like 6 of us standing around, and The Rock walks up, and of course we're all like enamored, like, oh, it's The Rock, here he is. And he's standing there, and he's making small talk a little bit. And it got awkward. We're all kind of standing there. Nobody knows what to say. And The Rock's kind of doing his thing. And then old Will Sutton says, "Hey, Rock, you like to hunt?" It's like The Rock turns to it and says, he's like, "Did you just ask me if I like to hunt?" Oh man. So yeah, it was tough. He's a real down to earth guy, but I mean, he is just on another level than us. So it was really hard to have a real conversation with him.